Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to week 8. Coming to you live from Vegas for Commissioner Tim's wedding, so getting pretty excited about that. Um, Looking at our matchups this week, I'm winging it today. I didn't do a script, so we're going to see how this goes, but I'm just going to go through, make some picks, see if I can point out any storylines or anything for this week. But I'll jump right into it. So the first thing I'm going to look at is Team Ben versus Choda. Choda hasn't finished setting his lineup, so it's a little tough here to kind of figure out the direction. But just guessing with Lamar on a bye, we'll probably see Mac Jones slide into this lineup. Mac Jones has been playing great. Um, uh, Clearly the best rookie quarterback so far in this season, in my opinion. So hopefully, obviously dropping Lamar, having him drop out of your lineup and settling on Mac Jones is not ideal, but it's a pretty good one to come off the bench at this point in the season. On the other side of the ball, looking at Ben's quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts has been hit or miss. I think in real life, I think in fantasy, he's been playing pretty well. But it seems like there's a lot of noise coming out of Philly about his future there. So I think he needs to really pick it up. And I mean, Philly fans are the worst; they're the hardest to please. So he's going to need to really pick it up in real life football in order to keep his job, hopefully moving forward as potentially the franchise quarterback. Looking at the running back matchups, I think this is a big advantage for Ben at this point. I think some of Choda's depth issues are kind of coming into play here. I know Saquon's on the bench and likely will, if he does play, I'm assuming he'll be in Choda's lineup. But that's a tough decision. Luckily for Choda, having Devontae Booker, he can wait until Monday night to make that decision as to who to start. But looking at Ben's running backs, I mean, David Johnson got a big boost, with the trade of Latavius Murray over the weekend. So I guess that was yesterday. So, anyways, David Johnson opening up a lot of running opportunities there. It looks like he's going to be the lead back. Definitely seems like he's over the hill a little bit there. That offense is just completely stagnant, anyways. But Mark Ingram, I said Latavius Murray, and I knew it was wrong. See, this is why I have a script. Mark Ingram getting traded opens up some rushing for David Johnson. But for Ben's team, hopefully is to get him some more looks, even if they're not super efficient in real life football for fantasy. If he's getting the majority of those carries, it can only be good for him. This is a pretty fun wide receiver matchup this week. I think for Choda, a couple guys that might be underperforming, depending on how you look at it, and Julio Jones and DK Metcalf. DK obviously came on strong last week and then only had one more catch, so a little bit disappointing there. Dealing with Geno as your quarterback, I think biggest thing here would be hoping that Russ comes back sooner rather than later. And looking at Ben's wide receivers, I mean, again, don't need to spend any more time on it, but Cooper Kupp has been a complete revelation this year, just tearing it up. Tight end matchup looks pretty even in my opinion. Dallas Goedert did some good work with the more targets, the more snaps by getting Zach Ertz out of there. So hopefully he'll continue with that. And then looking at Hunter Henry, I mean, he's been a pretty big surprise to me this year, really taking over as the tight end in New England and getting the touchdowns too. I believe it's 4 straight games that Hunter Henry has a touchdown. So anytime you can get that sort of production, that consistency out of your tight end, it's going to be good. And then finally looking at flex spots, looks pretty even to me at this point. Obviously Hunter Renfrow on a bye, so we'll see what Choda does with that spot. Chase Edmonds has kind of been up and down this year, so we'll see what he does tonight against Green Bay. And then looking at Ben's side, 2 Bears wide receivers in your flex. Obviously, it can be a boon or a bust sort of scenario there. With that rookie quarterback, though, it's obviously a little risky. That consistency is probably lacking at this point. I think once Choda makes his lineups, I think this is going to be a really close matchup. I've said that every week, and it seems like almost all of our matchups are blowouts, but maybe this is the week that we get some tight ones. I don't know if it'll be an upset once these once the players are refilled in this lineup. But I think Chota's going to get the win this week. I really like Tannehill. And like I said, I think Mac Jones is going to come in and fill in pretty admirably. And then hopefully for Chota, I mean, hopefully you get Saquon back and at 100%. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Chota to get his third win and even it up with Ben. All right, next matchup. I'm going to look at Bills Mafia versus Half Chubb. On paper, this looks like it may not be super close, but we'll see. I mean, I think Commissioner Tim said it best, that, and I've been saying it all year. I think John's got a really good team. It just seems like he can't get these guys to come together and play on the same week. And it does seem like John's maybe shifting his focus a little bit here. Maybe this isn't the season to go for it, but I still think this team can be trouble. Obviously, Justin Herbert can have a big week, carry your team. Not a fan at all of Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think fantasy purposes, Niners can have a blow-up week, and he can carry you a little bit there. John's real strength at this point really seems to be in his running backs, although getting Godwin, I think, also adds a little layer of consistency, I think, over what Calvin Ridley was offering this year. So, I see that trade as a big win for John, and solidifying not only his lineup this year, but for the future as well. Calvin Ridley is 27 going on 28. I just think Godwin at this point in his career is more consistent. Looking at the flex spots, already mentioned Godwin. Keenan Allen's been pretty quiet this year. I know he's had some good weeks, but I think overall, kind of expect him to have more of those like off the charts weeks that we haven't really seen yet. This will probably be the week for that. And then looking at Bills Mafia, tough loss last week, although it was an expected loss, kind of made it close. It'll be nice to see this week everybody back in the lineup for the most part. I think this could be a really, really big week. I'm hoping for a big week, and hopefully that show of what full potential of this team is, because I still don't think we've seen it. But A.J. Brown coming on strong the last 2 weeks, I think that's a great sign for this team. We'll see if Austin Eckler can turn it back around after his bye week. Dak Prescott dealing with an injury, although it sounds like he went full go today, and I don't think there were any setbacks, so I would assume he's going to play Sunday night and likely play at full speed. Kind of a letdown on Bills Mafia has been TJ Hawkinson. I mean, started off strong. First couple of weeks was looking like a hot tight end, top 3 or top 4. Since then has really struggled. I don't think the blame is his. I think Jared Goff really handicaps most of the offensive players. And considering Detroit doesn't have anyone else on offense, I think defenses have pretty much stacked it against Hawkinson to take him out of the game. So that's been pretty apparent, glaring weakness on my team. But I think a lot of that is overcome by, I think what is my biggest strength is just my flex and my depth. Darrell Henderson and James Robinson, I think, are both starting caliber running backs. So to be able to have them in the flex spots feels a little unfair. So I enjoy having that flexibility there. And then first week with Amari Cooper. So hopefully a big week, and I can see that stack with Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper. I'm going Bills Mafia in this one. Unfortunately for John, I'm going to put him at 1-7. And yeah, Bills Mafia will get the win. All right, next up, Cup to Canada versus Brady's Third Dynasty. Both teams sitting at 5-2. This is really the battle kind of for the top spot. In my opinion, the winner of this likely makes the best case at this point in the season for best team in our league, and probably the favorite for the championship. Looking at the matchup, there are some holes in both of these teams, which just even a couple of weeks ago, I don't think Commissioner Tim or I were even, considering. I think it leaves open the door for some other teams. But I think, when these guys play the way they should, these are both obviously really good teams. Still waiting for the Patrick Mahomes revenge game. I've gotten a little cocky with this, but, I think it's coming. Monday night against the Giants seems like the type of game that's going to go Mahomes' way, especially with Jabril Peppers not playing out for the season. So Mahomes can probably tear this one up. So I'm pushing Chiefs this week, and I think he's going to have a big week. Commissioner Tim's talked about Tua a lot. I'm not high on Tua personally. I just don't get the vibe that Miami likes him or thinks that he's a franchise quarterback. That's not to say I don't think he has the talent. I just don't think that's the place for him. And I don't think he's going to look like a franchise quarterback this week against Buffalo. But I think he's good. And hopefully, if the Deshaun Watson stuff goes through, hopefully for Tua and for Eves' team, Tua gets sent somewhere that appreciates him and can use his talent. Obviously, looking at Ryan, Tom Brady is always kind of the key to this quarterback room. Has played phenomenally this year, out of his mind. And I think, against New Orleans, this should be a shootout as well. So should be a big week for Tom Brady. Although, as was mentioned, Antonio Brown out for a while. With Gronk out as well, it could limit some of his upside if teams are able to stack against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So we'll see this week what happens with that. Looking at the running back matchup, it looks pretty even to me. Ryan seems to have the advantage just given that Damian Harris has played out of his mind the last 2 weeks, going over 100 yards. New England can be unpredictable with the running backs, but it seems like Harris has really taken it on and gotten consistent. And, as long as he doesn't fumble, which he's had an issue with in the past, and gets in the doghouse, I think he can run away with this backfield and, be that 2 down back for them and look really good. On the other side, Aaron Jones, of course, is another superstar that can carry your week. We'll see how he does tonight. Arizona is without J.J. Watt, it sounds like, for the rest of the year on that defense. So Aaron Jones might have a chance to show the rest of the world what that defense is going to look like without J.J. in there. Looking at wide receivers, this is a fun matchup here on paper. I do give the edge to Ryan, just given Jamar Chase has played out of his mind, looking insanely good. I think just that rapport that he has with Joe Burrow is clearly showing, but obviously he has immense natural talent as well. So don't expect that to slow down at all, although it does look like we're going to be dealing with weather in New York. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes into play and whether or not the Bengals run the ball more in a game that they'll probably be out ahead quickly. So that could limit some of his upside. And then, like I said earlier, I think Tyreek Hill is going to have a big week. Kansas City in general. So we're seeing the Mahomes and Tyreek Hill matchup here with Eves and Ryan. It kind of limits Eves' upside with Mahomes there a little bit, that Ryan can get all those points with Hill. But then again, looking at the tight end matchup, obvious advantage for Eves with Travis Kelce. Although, Ty Conklin's been playing pretty well. He's just kind of a quiet, consistent kind of guy. And then looking at the flex matchup, another advantage, in my opinion, for Eves. I think this year, with all the injuries we've been having, with, the weird kind of bye weeks, teams with depth seem to be performing a little bit better when you can kind of plug and play some guys that would be in a lot of people's starting lineups. Obviously, Lenny has been playing really well since the Super Bowl. Najee seems to have kind of woken up, and then Cordell Patterson has been relatively quiet the last few weeks. I'm sure Eves would like him to burst back out again, so it'll be interesting to see that. Looking at Ryan's side, Tony has been playing great. It'll be interesting to see how he comes back. Antonio Gibson is kind of an unknown at this point. And then Brandon Cooks, that Houston offense is just kind of weird. So it's hard to feel good about that, but he is definitely the leader of that offense at this point. I'm feeling an upset here. I'm going to pick it. I'm going to go with Ryan over Eves in this one. I think the X factor to me, I think the shootout in Tampa or in New Orleans with Tampa, I think Tom's going to have a really big day. And then I think Tyreek Hill's going to have a really big day, which is really going to limit Eves' upside there a little bit with Patrick Mahomes. I think these two have been just waiting to burst. The offense looked a little bit better the last week. although they still can't figure it out. But I think it's coming, and I think when this is going to be a fun matchup. I think this is probably going to be one of those last plays of Monday Night Football where Tyreek Hill gets a catch for 20 yards and puts Ryan over the top. So we'll see, but I'm going to pick Ryan in an upset. And then finally, I think matchup of the week at this point, just given how well Tim's been playing the last few weeks. So it's Trust the Process versus the Washington Fantasy Football Team. Obviously, Adams right there at the top as well. Very high scoring projections on this matchup. Tim is riding a 2-week top overall point streak, and I could see it again this week. It all obviously rides on Kyler tonight against Green Bay. It's going to be a weird kind of game, just given that Green Bay's top 3 wide receivers are out this week. I'm not sure that we're going to get the shootout everyone is expecting, although we might. But I think, obviously this team goes at this point as Kyler goes. Looking over at Adams quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, I mentioned him with Jamar Chase. They've both been playing so well with the weather there. It'll be interesting. Matthew Stafford's been playing out of his mind. He just looks consistent. I mean, he's always had talent. He's just not had talent around him. I think we're actually seeing, the real Matthew Stafford that we haven't probably seen since the Megatron days. So I expect this to just continue. I don't know how you slow down this offense. Looking at the wide receivers, obviously an advantage for Adam, all over the place. Although looking at Tim's wide receivers, I mean, DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor are future studs, and they're showing that it might be sooner rather than later, which is kind of crazy. These two are looking like top 5 running backs in the not too far near future, which I can't believe. I just think these two both feel like they're years ahead of where they should be. So it's really working out for Tim. They both look like players that can carry your fantasy team every week. So this is a fun matchup. It's kind of, the old versus the new. Derrick Henry and Kamara are obviously studs. Like I mentioned, I think in the chat, I am curious to see how Mark Ingram coming in affects Kamara's upside. Obviously, he's going to get his, but I think New Orleans is just dying for another weapon. And just with Mark Ingram having obviously played in New Orleans for years, he knows that offense and he knows the system. So he's going to be able to jump right in and be effective. Pretty fun matchup, I think, at wide receiver too. These teams are both feeling very even to this point, which is kind of surprising, just given, all the shit talk I put on Tim's team and obviously how good Adam's team is. So, I think Tim is, again, years beyond where I expected this team to be. So it's going to be a scary team sooner rather than later. CeeDee Lamb he's a stud. We'll just see him continue to do it. Mike Williams on Adam's team, kind of riding the roller coaster lately. So hopefully for Adam, he can even that out. Looking at the tight ends, this is now a distinct advantage for Adam. Kyle Pitts is really coming on strong. I think I agree with Tim. I don't know, Tim, if you said top 4, top 3 tight end this year, I'd put him in the top 3 at this point. I don't know who's better than him, and it seems like Atlanta's offense is starting to run through him. So the upside is there. Matt Ryan still has the talent to feed him the ball, and I expect him to do just that. And then looking at the flex spots, this is where Adam's team, I think, kind of takes that step ahead, just given his depth. Again, I think it could be close. I do really like Khalil Herbert on Tim's team. I think Pittman is really, really good. But if Jerry Jeudy comes back and is able to play close to 100%, I think the Denver offense has just been dying for him to come back. And I think that could really be a boost there. Thielen is quietly having a pretty good season. And then Joe Williams, I don't know how many more climbs out. But Kansas City needs to establish a run. They've been lacking that. And, I mean, they haven't had that for years, and they've just been able to rely on Mahomes' heroics. But I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do that this year with all the struggles they've had with Mahomes. So hopefully one of the last big weeks there. Um, I'm picking another upset. I'm going with Tim in this one. Maybe it's wishful thinking. I want to move up the rankings a little bit, but I think Tim's players are all some of the hottest players we have right now in the league, and I don't see them slowing down. So I expect another big win from Tim. I don't think Tim gets the top overall points, but I do think he squeaks out a win this week. All right, that's all I've got today. I didn't do future focus, just winging it. So hopefully that wasn't too all over the place and I didn't make too many errors. But hope everyone has a good rest of the week. And yeah, we'll see you Sunday and Monday. All right, have a good one. Bye, everybody.